Hi guys, and welcome back to the Boldly Ambitious podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Liddy.
And I'm Hazal.
We're doctors, entrepreneurs, and founders in our 20s.
And this is a space for the ambitious girlies chasing big dreams and building bold lives.
And today, guys, we are joined by a celebrity.
Yeah, literally.
Dr. Uyiosa is an award-winning medical doctor, public speaker, property investor, and media personality who's featured on TV across BBC and Channel 4. She's been ranked in the top 10% of UK doctors and has been recognised nationally as a rising star in healthcare. Beyond medicine, she's built a powerful presence in the finance space, helping young professionals build wealth with confidence.
Wow.
Welcome, Uyiosa.
Hi.
We are so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Guys, that intro was a lot.
Have we missed anything?
Have we missed anything?
no,
Because
no,
the list just goes on.
million
I
things
was
to say.
screaming, no, you guys got it.
No, honestly, what a diverse powerhouse. To get straight into the nitty-gritty of things, we want to know, before we dive in, can you take us back to what shaped your relationship with money growing up?
That's a really good question. I would say growing up, we had seasons where we had money and when we didn't have money. And when you're young and you're in that predicament and you're also the firstborn daughter, shout out to the eldest sibling, you really think about how to stretch a pound, how to stretch 10 pounds. And so I would say that those experiences in my childhood actually gave me the privilege of being really good at
managing money.
Exactly.
Wow. I feel like you're not the eldest daughter.
No,
but eldest daughter syndrome, I feel like it's such a thing, isn't it? Because you're almost taking the position of being like the second parent or the third parent in the house. You feel like you need to like look after all your siblings and teach them everything and figure things out so they all follow in the right footsteps. So yeah, I feel like how much, like, did you feel that pressure growing up, or did you feel that pressure more once you became an adult?
That's a really good question. I would say a little combination of both. I think growing up, you, as the firstborn, you always look out for your younger siblings, right? And then when you get older and you're making life decisions, you do start to think, okay, if I make this decision, how does this impact how they see the world? And I would never want my younger siblings to ever feel like they were limited. So it's like, if my older sister is always pushing the boundary, she's always trying to put herself in, new environments and new situations, I want them to take that same sort of audacity as well. So I wouldn't say it was a pressure. I think if anything, I would want them to flourish as a result of seeing me flourish in my purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you kind of touched on that. With these topics, I love to know and learn about people's backgrounds, because I think, interestingly enough, our upbringing and certain experiences we have when we're younger tends to feed into our relationship with things like money and ambition when we're older. I know that for me, for example, coming from a first-gen immigrant, low socioeconomic background, and kind of growing up with scarcity, it definitely taught me that, okay, this is not a reality I want for myself. And it's one of the reasons why I think financial freedom and financial independence really is one of the pillars. When I think about ambition, it's one of the pillars that I kind of want to achieve for myself. So one thing I want to know is, while you kind of shared that, your upbringing taught you how to stretch things, at what point did you realize that financial security is something you wanted, or financial independence or freedom is something you wanted to build for yourself?
So I think that's a twofold question. I would say from a interest perspective, I really like cars. I feel like I say that a lot on my social media. I'm a car girly. If Porsche's watching this, if you want to sponsor me, that would be great. I think for me, cars was the thing that exposed me to a different lifestyle. So I didn't see anyone driving really expensive cars, and like I said, I really love cars. So there was a day where, and I think I was 13, I have a picture, I think I was 12 or 13, and I was like, I want to go to a Porsche showroom. Like, I want to see what it's like. And then I was looking at
13.
Honey, listen. And then I was like, wait, these cars cost £100,000, £80,000. And it made me think, oh my goodness, there is someone in the world who just has 80k lying around, and they'll wake up on a random Tuesday and just buy a Porsche.
Not Tuesday.
And or Wednesday. We don't discriminate with the days. And it made me think, okay, what are those people doing differently? Because there's a Nigerian saying, those people do not have two heads.
Yeah. Someone else said that saying.
I bet it was Joyce.
Yeah.
It's a Nigerian thing. So it made me think, okay, what are those people doing differently? Because they're not thinking about how do I get food or how do I help my kids do X, Y, and Z in school. They're trying to buy a car. So that's the first aspect. I'd say the second aspect is just the freedom having money gives you. I think when you are someone who has a really big dream and you really want to change the world and you know what your calling and what your purpose is, you realize that trading your time for money is such a limiting factor. If you're working a 9-to-5 job and then you've got responsibilities, the time that you have left over to dedicate to whatever it is you feel called to do is limited. Like it's capped, because there's only 24 hours in a day and you still need to sleep, eat, go to the gym, etc. So having something that's working in the background financially gives you the room to be able to do what you feel you've been called to do. So I would say, in trying to navigate and, you know, fulfill my purpose, having a financial buffer and not wanting to ever worry about money, and of course wanting to be like the people who buy a portion of random Tuesday or Wednesday, I would say all of those different things have impacted my financial journey. Yeah.
I love that, because obviously you mentioned when you were younger, there were times where you had money and there were times where you didn't, and you didn't let that stop what you thought was possible for your future. You know, people can go through tough times and believe that that's sort of it. That's as far as they can get for the rest of their life. But you almost saw that as like a challenge to, like, yeah, I'm going to get that Porsche, or I'm going to build that financial freedom.
Exactly. I dare you to dare me.
Ooh. Dare you to dare
I dare
me.
you to dare me.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think one thing you're quite vocal about online is building financial prosperity without necessarily quitting your 9-to-5, which is what some would call a quite controversial take, given the overwhelming voices and opinions out there that is prompting people to leave stability in order to build stability. So what I want to know is, where did that opinion or belief system come from? And why are you so vocal about it?
I would say in life, there's times and seasons, right? And I think you always have to be realistic about how you're going to get to X destination. So there are some people who, if they have a network of people that have a lot of money, they can go to their network, and those people in their network can invest or give them money in exchange for interest or in exchange for equity of a business. If you don't necessarily have that, or if you're someone that's building that, the next best thing is leveraging your salary, is taking advantage of your salary. Most people have a 9-to-5 job. Now, when you have a salary, you want to be strategic. If you have a high paying salary, it means that you can get to whatever financial goal quicker if you're not spending your money, if you're not getting, you know, carried away by lifestyle inflation, etc. And I think for me, right now in the season of life that I'm in, using my 9-to-5 to help get me to my destination is a really good vehicle. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a vehicle I will use forever. There might be a day where I fully quit my 9-to-5. You might see me on a yacht.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm waiting for that LinkedIn post.
A Porsche yacht.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's just using what you have, like using what's in your hand to get to where you need to get to.
That mindset of leveraging what's currently at your disposal, I think it requires a level of prosperity mindset or abundance mindset. So in your situation, what role did mindset play in allowing you to leverage your 9-to-5 in order to build wealth?
Everything. So I would definitely say that I had to first train my mind before I was able to get to the position that I'm in now.
Wow.
So again, like I said, I grew up having money and not having money. So I've experienced both ends of the spectrum, and we have to be real. Those things impact you. There is a thought that by the time you're 7, you've actually formed your blueprint around money.
Wow.
And if you think about 7, it's not necessarily what you know, but it's what you've been exposed to. So if you've been exposed to people who say, I don't have this, I can't do this, that stuff does influence how you see the world going forward. And so for me, it was unlearning those things and moving from a place of, actually, there is a lot of money in the world. We cannot quantify how much money there is in the world. Do you know how crazy that is?
That's
we
crazy.
can quantify loads of things, but we can't quantify how much money is floating.
I know.
So, and I also had to realize that just because I may not have the money that I want doesn't mean that someone doesn't. I just need to knock on enough doors to find the key to the money that I need.
Wow.
That is transition. It's changing your belief system, and you can't be what you don't think. You can't give what you don't have.
Wow.
You cannot embody what you genuinely do not believe. So mindset literally was everything. So just because I may not have the answer to something right now doesn't mean I will not find the answer. Ask me again in 2 weeks. I promise you that I will have the answer to it. So mindset, changing my mind to that of abundance, has really helped me navigate this world of trying to build, financial freedom.
And we were at an event earlier this week where they mentioned that YouTube has paid creators $100 billion in the last 4 years. Guys, billion, not million, $1 billion in the last 4 years.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right? And I feel like those are sort of numbers we never really hear about, or you use those values when you're trying to exaggerate something, but this is reality.
Exactly.
And someone was like, who makes you think that you can't get a cut of that pie? And it's true, because if you work hard enough, there is money out there to get.
Agreed.
Literally. But I just want to know a bit more about, so you're working towards this financial freedom, or that was your goal. And why was financial freedom so important to you? Like, what was your relationship with money, and why did you want to build to that level with money?
I would say that my relationship with money has changed as I've evolved and as I've become clearer on who I believe God has called me to be. I would say that my relationship with money now is healthy. Not say that it wasn't healthy before, but I think I understand my why when it comes to money. I would love to change things and I would love to impact things, but you need money to do that. And we have to be realistic. We live in a world where money does carry a level of influence. It does put you occasionally in rooms that may not be accessible to everybody. And in having money, it means that I'll be able to, create the positive change that I want to see. For example, when it comes to Black founders, when it comes to them fundraising, the stats show that they get a very, very, very small percentage of the pie. And if you're a Black female, it's even tiny. And we're still talking about that, and it's 2025. So money would help to change that. It would help to drive the notion forward. It would help to give people who have amazing ideas but don't have the resources, the ability to actually execute and walk in their purpose. So that's kind of my why now. Yes, I would love to have a really nice car. Am I a flashy am I a flashy person? Am I materialistic? No, I think you'll know that I've made it because I've probably changed my car, and that's about it. But I think in terms of actually changing the narrative going forward and being able to drive positive changes, that's kind of that's what it is for me.
I love that.
One thing I love is kind of how you speak with so much like conviction and empowerment, and I think that's so important, especially for ambitious women that may look at certain things like financial prosperity and think it's out of their reach or it's not possible. I want to circle back to something you said earlier about having to train your mind in order to adapt certain habits so you can get to where you are today. I think that's such an important thing you touched on, because I think many people listening today will be able to relate to certain mindset restrictions or limiting beliefs they have that is preventing them to get to a certain level when it comes to financial prosperity. I know that for me, for example, I remember after a few years of investing, so I started investing at medical school, inspired by my one of our good friends, and that's why your network and your community, those who you surround yourself with, is so important. But I started investing. I was saving some money. I maximized my income, side hustles, all of that stuff. And it came to the end of med school, and it was now time to take out. I was investing in S&P 500. For those of you who don't know, it's kind of it's an index fund. Please do search it up. I don't know how to describe it without using jargon. Do you want to?
I want to try. So the best way for me to describe an index fund: think of two pizzas. I like Hawaiian pizzas, but some people don't like, pineapple on their pizza. But that's a different conversation. But think of two pizzas. A stock is a pizza that has no slices, so it's just one whole pizza. And then your index fund is the pizza that has 10 slices or 12 slices, and each of those individual slices represent a different company. So when you buy an index fund, you're getting the pizza with 12 slices, but and you're owning shares of all of those companies. Whereas if you buy a single stock of a company, it's basically your pizza that has no slices. It all represents the same thing.
And
I love that. That's such a
just to add to that, the reason why people prefer to invest in index funds sometimes is because like the S&P 500 is the top 500 American companies, and if 10 go down but 20 go up, overall there will be an upward trend in like how much those companies gain value over time. But if you're just investing in one company, if that company goes down, so do your investments. But if you're investing in 500 companies at the same time with smaller amounts in each one, but overall when overall there is a positive return from those 500 companies, your investments will have a positive return as well.
Amazing. Love the explanations. But yeah, so I was investing in S&P 500 and then I gained a certain amount of returns of income from it, and it was time for me to now pull out that money in order to then invest in property, because I was interested in becoming a property investor. And when I tell you the mental battle that was required for me to take money out or take from a pot that I had been building in order to reinvest it back in myself was incredibly difficult. Like I needed my friends to convince me or to persuade me or to explain to me why I'm not losing the money by taking it and reinvesting it. If anything, I'm maximizing my income and allowing it to go further. So limiting beliefs are so important, because without realizing it or not, because of the exposure we have to financial situations, it will influence your relationship with money and your ability to leverage money and what you have access to build further. So I think it's such an important point that you touched on there.
Thank you. I want to also say that I can relate to that. I think at the start of my journey, and again when I made my first property purchase, girl, when the solicitor said, so can you transfer the funds?
You know when you got that bill?
I was like, it was really nice looking at this money in my account.
Right.
Like, are you sure you want me to transfer it? And I also went through the journey of reminding myself, I'm not spending this money on a car. Even though I really
as much as you'd want to.
I'm spending this money on an asset. And I think that's the key thing. You have to remind yourself that when you're putting money towards something, you're either putting money towards something that is a liability, so it's going to cost you money, or something that's going to make you money. And putting money into a property is just another avenue for you to make more money for yourself. So you're not losing it, you're just changing the mode of transport that you're using to get to whatever your financial destination is. But I'm not going to sit here and say, it was easy. No, it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's why financial literacy is so important, and I think we can all agree it's one of the first steps you take when you're thinking about building financial independence and financial freedom. So breaking it down for the ambitious girlies who kind of want to emulate what you have done in their own way of building wealth alongside a 9-to-5, how did you actually go from paycheck to portfolio?
And you want me to break it down?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try and break this down to the best way. By the way, guys, I haven't prepped this, so we're going to try our best.
No, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
So I think the first thing that we've touched on is working your mindset. You generally cannot be what you do not believe. The second thing I would also say to add to that is there is a phrase, a verse, that faith cometh by hearing. So the more you repeat something to yourself, again, the more you will believe it, which is why it's so important to have really healthy affirmations about money and to speak positively about money, even when the reality isn't matching the expectations. But remembering that just because it doesn't match it now, it doesn't mean it won't match it in the future. So that's the first thing. All of that is mindset. The second thing is coming up with a strategy. If you don't have a strategy and you have a goal, baby, you are daydreaming. And we can all daydream, but the difference between the people who get to where they want to be is they have a strategy. So I would say sitting down and working out, what do you actually want and why? Anyone can sit here and tell me that they want to make £10,000 a month. That's great, but why do you want to make £10,000 a month? Because when life is doing bish bash bosh,
Right.
it's your why that's going to help you push past the bish bash bosh to get to the other side, right? So once you've sat down and worked out what your number is, and also do this mathematically, just don't say 10K because it sounds sexy. Do the maths. Do you want to live in a certain kind of house? Go on Rightmove, go on Zoopla, check what the rent is going for. If you want to purchase it, go and work out what the mortgage is. If you want to have a certain car, or if you want to be able to donate a certain amount of your earnings to, charity, then again, literally, what would I say? On your Excel sheet, put every single thing down that you'd want your monthly income to be going to, and then add it up, and that will give you exactly how much you want to make a month. then you want to come up with a strategy. You want to think, how do I go from where I am now to that? And what avenue is going to get me there? Is it investing in companies that's going to get me there? Is it investing in property that's going to get me there? Is it starting my own business or side hustle that's going to get me there? Literally think about what avenues you're going to need to get there. And if you really want to be sciencey about it, you can work out how much you need to earn from each avenue and then work out what the average return is for each of those avenues, and then look at the time frame that you'd need to allow those things to work in your favor, and then use that to gauge when realistically, time-wise, you'd be able to make that amount per month. But that's really mathsy. And then once you've got your strategy, you just need to educate yourself and do it. Don't sit there humming and hawing. Once you have enough information, just do it. You won't know 100% because life and experiences teach you, but in the process of doing, you're gonna go further than just sitting there and thinking and hypothesizing about, okay, but what if this happened, but what if that doesn't happen? You won't be able to test it until you actually do it. So those are the 5 things that I would say. So if I had to summarize that, it's your mindset, work on your mindset. Second thing would be working on what your actual number is. The third thing would be looking at the strategy. The fourth thing would be educating yourself on that strategy. And then the fifth thing would be executing. I know I've done fifth with this, but I didn't do this one.
Yeah.
But, 5 is executing.
Yeah, no, thank you for that thorough explanation. So you built a 6-figure investment portfolio by the time you was 25.
Yeah.
Wow. Round
First
of
all,
applause,
big you up.
ladies.
That's so amazing.
Thank you.
For people who are perhaps looking for inspiration on what strategy to use, what metrics did you use to decide what strategy you wanted or what vehicle you wanted to use in order to get to your financial goals?
So aside from the 5 things that I mentioned earlier, I would also say using the things that you're interested in. So I've always been interested in interior design and property, and I thought, okay, I might as well just use property as a starting way of getting to the end number, right? Property in itself is very broad. So I did research into the different property strategies that are available. And then I did the maths for each one. And I picked the one that made sense for my circumstances, and also made sense in terms of getting me to where I wanted to be. I will never do something because it's sexy. I'll never do something because it's trendy. There will be intent behind every single thing that I do, and I will own everything that I do.
Wow.
So investing in property makes sense for me. It may not make sense to my friends. It may not make sense to another person, but it's making sure that you are realistic with your situation and then picking something that makes sense. There are people who trade and it makes so much sense for them, and there are people who do other things. The crypto baddies, like there's so many things that people do. So just make sure that whatever strategy you use makes sense for you, and that's it really.
No, that's so well said. And if someone's listening to this now and they feel quite overwhelmed with the plethora of financial advice out there, what are some of where would you recommend they start, and what are some of the resources you recommend?
I would say reading books. I don't know if reading books is still a thing that we do.
Is.
Okay,
It definitely is.
I would definitely say reading books. Reason being, you may not be able to meet the mental or the financial person that you really, really are inspired by, but they may have written a book. So you get a percentage of their brain in a book that they've written. So books are gold. I would say, reading books and starting off with books that are beginner friendly. I know everyone talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad will make you think about what kind of things you spend your money on and why you should spend your money on certain things and why you should not spend your money on certain things. That helps to sort of bring you into the world of finance, especially if you're someone that wasn't exposed to it or doesn't know a lot about it. And then you can start building up. And I think for me, I really enjoyed reading books by people who had achieved a level of wealth and then they were talking about their journey, because you can kind of follow it a bit better. It has principles integrated in there without it being too financy and overwhelming. And then once you've got that buffer, then you can start reading the heavy big books.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in a time where there's just so much information available. Like if books aren't your thing, go on YouTube. If YouTube isn't your thing, listen to podcasts.
Right.
If podcasts aren't your thing, TikTok. Like you can find the information you're looking for. You just need to search for it. And especially when you're trying to build and you're doing something quote unquote out of the norm, you're not going to get spoon fed the information. Like, it's not just going to land in your lap.
Agreed.
And that's why you need a certain drive, a certain motivation, and your why needs to be very clear, because it is hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it, but you need to have that reason for what's keeping you pushing and what's making you seek all this opportunity and all this knowledge that's not going to be readily available for you. Because at the end of the day, like I just mentioned, if it was easy, everyone would do it, but you are striving for something that is out of the norm, that is, you know, not an everyday thing, and that's why you need to act in a way that is not, you know, an everyday la-di-la-di task.
Facts.
Yeah, I think you don't need to use every resource out there. You need to use the one that speaks to you the most. I think if you try and place yourself everywhere, you can get very overwhelmed.
Definitely.
And then it can make you kind of step away from this dream or goal you're after. But I know that for me, one thing I like is people who speak my language. So whether that's minimal jargon or people whose stories I can relate to, you know, I know like one of the, apart from Uyiosa's YouTube channel, one of the financial resources that I love using is, you know, Lamide's podcast, Building Wealth with No Borders. Even though she hasn't necessarily reached the level of wealth that I ultimately aspire to reach, you know, when you can kind of track someone's journey and they're not just talking the talk but they're walking the walk, I find that really useful to learn from alongside books and podcasts. So I think just be mindful of what resources you're accepting. Everyone and their mum is a financial expert, and I think if you're not careful, you can find yourself making financial mistakes you regret. I've seen it happen to people around me at times because they don't know who to listen to. So I think you really need to vet who you're taking advice from. Don't just take advice from people for the sake of it. I know we all love a one chat GPT, but even then there are nuances to AI. So you just want to be intentional about that. But what I want to go back to is, I know that you kind of spoke quite generally and you provided the resources, you provided the steps, but practically speaking in your situation as a medical doctor, what did it look like for you? Was it taking a certain percentage from your pay every month and putting it in an index fund? Was it maximizing your income? Was it locuming, which for those of you who don't know is just taking on more shifts or hours in your personal time? What did it look like for you practically?
I would say a combination of all of those different things. So if we're going back to the beginning, I did loads of things. So the first thing that I did was cut down my expenses. And I've said this on my YouTube channel. I lived in a house that was, I think, 3 stories. Yeah, 3 stories.
All to yourself?
No, I did have a flatmate, but...
3 stories for 2 people?
3 stories?
It was crazy. It was crazy.
There's levels to the game. Different tax brackets.
Don't do that.
We can't relate.
Don't do that. And I can't lie, when winter came and those electricity bills...
to heat 3 floors.
I said, Lord have mercy. I said, wow. Yeah, I left that house. That tenancy ended when it could. Immediately. And I literally downsized and I found a house in a HMO that was £400, all bills included. So you can imagine, I was saving a tremendous amount of money. I cut down on how much I was eating out and stuff. Not that I eat out often, but we're gonna cook all of our meals at home. Cutting down on like travel, like all of the practical things that I could do, I did was one. And then the second aspect was optimizing my income. So is that through side hustles? Is that working extra hours at work? Investing. So I was investing heavily, and around, the COVID times, the market crashed. Yes, there was a lot of fear about what life would look like post-COVID, but the market, it came back and everything was green again, and it was great. So all of those things really helped me to maximize how much I was putting aside every single month. And I'm a queen of tracking, or at the time anyway, I was the queen of tracking. So I knew exactly how much I was putting aside every single month. And if something looked a bit funny, it's like, okay, cool, why does that look funny? Have I spent a bit more? Have I not been disciplined, etc., etc.? And things are, when it comes to saving, it's like a muscle. Once you start to do things repetitively, it becomes second nature. And then you realize, oh wait, I didn't have to think about that purchase or think about this. You just kind of know what to do. So to answer your question, it was a combination of trying to increase my income, minimize my expenses, not being silly, and putting the money aside. Because it is tempting. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I make financially wise decisions all the time. I don't. And my mum looked at me, she's like, so how much did that cost? I said, don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Don't ask me more questions.
Don't ask me questions.
We're both not going to think about it.
And then that was it really.
If you're enjoying this episode so far and you're listening on an audio platform, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, pretty please. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And for those of you who are looking for a podcast space, today we're filming at the Myriad Studios. We're going to link it down below. Be sure to check it out for yourself if you're looking for a nice creative space to film your podcast videos. One thing that I love about what you just mentioned was tracking. I was listening to another podcast earlier this week and was talking about how quite a large percentage of young adults this was specific to the US, but I'm sure the UK mimics this, don't know about the status of their finances. They avoid the topic of finances because it brings them anxiety and overwhelm. Why do you think it's so important to be tracking your finances, your input, your output, and having that visibility about where your money's going?
Because if you don't track something, how do you know what to improve? Like, it's as simple as that. If you have no idea where your money is going every single month, how will you know what things to change? How will you know that you thought you cancelled your Netflix subscription and it's been going on for the last 12 months? How do you know if you don't shed light into your finances? I do understand that finances can be an awkward topic, but we have to be real. We live in a world that is very driven by money. So if you're not clear about your money, I promise you HMRC and other people are. You need to get with it.
Tax man is coming after you.
Literally. So you need to know what it's doing. And if you're someone who is audacious and has really big dreams, you need to make sure that you're assigning every single pound that lands in your lap a purpose. You want to be a good steward of money. You can't grow something that you can't look after. And I always say to people, how you treat £20 is how you're going to treat £20,000, is how you're going to treat 20 million. It's literally those same habits, but it's amplified. So if you can't track your money now, or if you can't, make certain changes, how will you do that when the stakes are higher with a lot more money, with a lot more zeros?
And I think as well, like, if you don't make your own plan for your finances, you're going to fall into someone else's plan. And, in a reality where people have a health plan, we have a career plan, having a financial plan is just as important. Do you get what I mean?
And I think one of you mentioned that it can be very overwhelming, but we're in a day and age where there's an app or a spreadsheet available for everything. Literally just search budgeting app or budgeting worksheet and it will literally do half of the work for you. You just need to input the numbers and your statement is available on your phone with like click of a button. So sometimes we can procrastinate things that we're scared of just because we don't know how to start, but you just need to do a little bit of searching, guys, and the visibility is so important when you're trying to build financial wealth and financial freedom. You don't need visibility if you want to continue living paycheck to paycheck, and some people do want that, and that's fine, but that's not what we're talking about today. For those who do want to build financial freedom and financial wealth, you need to be able to track the pounds, just like you said, because that's how you will track the thousands and the millions, and you can find resources available to you literally at the click of a button that will help you. So you just need to start looking.
I know that there's this narrative online that's very much like, if you want to build wealth, you need to quit your 9-to-5. What would you say are your thoughts on that?
I would say everyone needs to do what's best for them. Full stop. I can only speak on my financial situation, and I think everyone's financial situation is very different. If you are fortunate to have built different streams of income early that are consistent and reliable, and you want to dedicate your time to scaling that because you think how much money you can generate from that is a lot more than how much your 9-to-5 job is paying you, do your thing. Who am I to stop you? Do your thing, baby. Do your thing. However, if you're just doing it because someone on TikTok said that that's what you need to do and it got, 100k likes or something, but you haven't got income streams, you haven't got a business plan, you haven't got nothing. Okay, you quit your 9-to-5 job, but what are you doing? And one of my friends said something last month during the Black Business Show. He said, and he's in the angel investing space, shout out to Andy. He said a lot of people come up to him and say that they're working on a business and they want to quit their 9-to-5 job. And he always asks them, well, when you get home from work, how many hours are you dedicating to your business? Monday to Friday. Then on the weekend, if you're not working, you've got however many hours there. So are you really maximizing the time that you have on a Monday to Sunday to work on whatever it is that you're working on? And I think the same concept applies here. before you quit your 9 to 5, you need to make sure that you have maximized your time and the things that you are doing, the things that time is doing for you. If you haven't, and you haven't got a financial buffer, I think it's important that you accurately assess your situation. And we all have privileges. There are some people who have the privilege of, well, if it doesn't work out, I have people who I can live with, or people who will cover me for a couple of months. That's fine. But I think it's really, really important to just make sure that you really assess whether your 9 to 5 job is actually the hindrance or if it's you.
Yeah, I think some people can use the 9 to 5 as like a scapegoat, as like I'm going to blame you because I'm not getting to where I want to get to, so it must be that to blame. But especially in a day and age where the job market is like
in this job
crippling.
Hey,
can you quit
in
and get a
this
job
job
again
market.
in 2 months? Because if you can't, who's paying your
Right.
who's putting food on the table? So I think you can prepare everything before doing the quitting. You know, you can prepare whatever, you know, the lifestyle you're going to live, how everything's going to work, the business plan, and then quit once the money's making sense and once the plan is making sense. But, you know, sometimes I know you can be motivated to just dive into the deep end, but you don't want to dive and then sink, right? So you need to make sure that you've got a plan in place and it actually makes sense for you. Because like you said, social media will make you think it's the best thing to do, or it's the only way you can build wealth. But you've shown, and there's multiple other examples, that the 9 to 5 can actually add to you building your wealth rather than take away from it. So yeah, you need to figure out what exactly is hindering you. Is it your work ethic? Is it your lack of resources? Or is it your lack of time? And then work around that. Don't just try to solve an issue that you don't know without knowing what the issue is.
I agree. And just to add to that, I think 9 to 5 gets a really bad rep.
Yeah.
However, your 9 to 5 job does 2 things if you've been strategic. So the first thing it gives you is income, right? And we've touched on the different things that you can do to optimize your income. So you can look for ways to increase how much you're making. That could be through promotions. It could be through maybe picking up extra things at work if, again, your sector offers that. But it also gives you skill. And I think people don't talk about the skill element of your job. If you are in a sector where your skill set is niche, you can stack your skills. And Stephen Bartlett talks about this. If you're able to stack your skills, and they may in isolation seem quite random, but together it can make you a force in your sector, super valuable. And you can charge however much because people see you as so unique that they are willing to pay you however much you want, right? And I think a 9 to 5 job can provide you with those 2 foundations. It can give you the money, and it can also make you super, super skillful. And then you can leverage that skill to start a business, or to go into a higher paying role, or to move countries. There are some countries that pay more than other countries. I'm not going to say any countries in particular.
No name dropping.
So I would say that you have to use your 9 to 5 as a tool. You have to look at it as an opportunity. There are people who have gone to work, have realized that actually there is a problem in this sector. I'm going to spend my time intentionally trying to understand what are the issues around this problem. And they have started a business, they have raised money in VCs, and then they are exiting or they're about to IPO. And they could have easily sat there and been, 9 to 5 isn't glamorous or isn't this, but their lens and their perspective was so different, and they were able to completely change their life as a result of it. So is a 9 to 5 job bad? I don't know. I can't speak for all sectors. I'm only a doctor, right?
Only.
Only.
But one thing I will say is, if you do have a 9 to 5 job, go in with the lens of being a problem solver. The world rewards you for solving problems. Go in with the lens of, okay, whilst I'm here, I'm going to try and improve my skill sets as much as possible. If you are a salesperson, you're going to be the best damn salesperson that company has ever seen. And then you want to think, okay, once you've built your skill sets and you've exhausted what the business or what the job can give you, then you can think about, okay, how can I leverage this? What is the next step? But if you quit a 9 to 5 job, you're not going to get the income and maybe not the skills. So
it's something to think about. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I think stability is very underrated. I think Gen Z, we love making, entrepreneurship seems so exciting on the outside. But one thing that I really want to touch on is people complain about living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
But have you tried living invoice to invoice? Ooh. That is a whole other mountain, a whole other situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think as people who were quite privileged to kind of be experiencing both elements of this 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship online battle that goes on, both of them have their pros and both of them have their cons. That's why I would never sit down and say that one is better than the other, because I think it's so dependent on who you are, what unfair advantages you have access to, what you're trying to build and what your ultimate goals are. But I think stability is very underrated. There are many people who are screaming, quit your 9 to 5, quit your 9 to 5 online.
They've come back though on a DL.
Do you understand what I mean?
Right.
And they have a side thing just in case, they don't make that much money from content creation that week or from their business that week. Or do you know what I mean? They have a stable source that they may not share. So that's why I think it's so important to contextualize everything for yourself and ensure that it makes sense to you. For example, like this podcast we started, it was our 9 to 5 as doctors. That the constant income we got from that allowed us to be able to fund the studio, to be able to fund kind of the impact we wanted to make. Because like you said, if we're being realistic, you need money to have a certain level of influence and impact, whether we think it's fair or not, whether we like it or not. But I think one thing you're kind of describing is leverage. For people who aren't familiar with what leverage is and how much of a powerful tool it is, are you able to kind of dive into that a bit and also advise on how they can use that in their situations?
Leverage is such a big term. I would say the amazing people that we look up to in this world have used leverage in one way or another. There's different categories of leverage. In terms of defining leverage, I would say being able to grow something is probably the simplest way, being able to scale something relatively quickly. So people leverage. If you have a business, the owner of that business is leveraging people, because his output, if he's got 10 employees, his output is now 10x versus just him as a single employee. If you look at mortgages, for example, for investment companies, you've already had to put down £50,000 and you've been able to get something that's worth £250,000. That is a form of leverage. I can't think of other examples fast enough, but leverage is something that allows you to grow faster, and every person can leverage something. If we look at intellectual property, like this podcast, for example, if someone wanted to, I don't know, take a clip, they'll have to pay you, right? They'll have to pay you copyright. Yeah. That is a form of leverage if you think about it on a scale. People who write books, that is a form of leverage. They have an idea and they're able to sell that thing multiple times without having to put in the same effort each time round. Does that make sense? So I would say that depending on what you want, depending on where you are specifically in your life, try and look at the different things that you can leverage for yourself. Like I said, leverage is so big, and I don't think I've done it enough justice in the explanations that I've given, but I would say study the different types of leverages that are available and then pick which one you can execute out.
Yeah. No, I think you explained it well. I know the way I see leverage is kind of like using what you have to gain more. And I think what you touched on about where are you right now and what can you use at your disposal is so important, because I know that, for example, if you're a student, right, you may not have the income, but you may have time that you can leverage. Maybe you can use that time to request shadowing or to exchange admin support in exchange of perhaps following someone or spending a day with someone that you can gain knowledge from. You can leverage your time in order to gain knowledge. So it's all about where you are and how you can use what's at your disposal to benefit you without necessarily being an overly transactional person, but if anything, being a strategic and intentional person.
Yeah, and I love that you touched on that, because when you think leverage, and growing, I think most people think about like growing their money, but you can grow your knowledge, for example, and you need knowledge to then be able to grow your money. So regardless of what sort of where you are on a timeline, there will be something you can do and something you can leverage that will help you get to the next stage a little bit faster. So it's just about sitting down and instead of looking out, look within and figure out what it is that you can do or what it is that you can offer to other people. Because in this day and age, we all have some sort of skill that someone else won't have. We all have some sort of idea or some sort of knowledge. And you just need to find the right people who either need your time, need your knowledge, and need your skills to then be able to, not in a transactional way, but in a let's benefit each other way, get something from them and help you on the next stage as well. So that's why comparison culture will make you think you have nothing to leverage.
Don't compare.
But don't compare, because we will all have, for example, similarities and differences that have helped us get to where we are today. And on a larger scale, everyone will have similarities and differences, but you just need to figure out what it is that makes you different from someone else and how you can use that to leverage whatever it is to get you to the next step.
One thing I kind of want to know is, I know that in my own journey of building wealth or financial prosperity, independence, all the different terms for
Whatever
it,
word
building
you
all
wanna
of that. One thing that I know at times I've struggled with is kind of getting demotivated in my journey. You know, you take the first few steps and then you realize, oh wait, I need to go further. There's more that I need to do. I know that after I bought my first property, I was like, yay, you know, I'm a property investor now. This is amazing.
Tell us again.
And then I saw the rental income and I was like, oh, okay, we still have a long way to go in regards to the amount I need monthly to officially be financially independent. So how would you recommend that ambitious girlies watching this today kind of sustain their discipline and to some extent their motivation and consistency to stick at it long enough to gain the financial outcome they want?
I think the first thing that came into my head is, where are you running to? We have a whole life. And if we look at the businesses that we all admire today, they didn't start the first day that we recognized them or the first time that we saw them on TV. They started in someone's head when they were in their room or, I don't know, cooking or whatever. And it's taken years. When we look at businesses that are unicorns, they have been going on for 10, 20, sometimes 30 years, right? And when you speak to the founders, they've had to pivot and do X, Y, Z. There were times where they thought the business was doing well. The other time they thought they were going to lose their business. But at the end of the day, they've been able to hit unicorn status, right? And I think that same approach can be reflected back here. When you are starting your financial journey, unless you're trying to do a get-rich-quick scheme, you need to, I don't recommend that, by the way. You need to give it time, right? Really good things take time. And I think in a generation where we're so used to getting things instantly, we expect things to happen tomorrow. Why didn't it happen right now? Why hasn't X happened? Why hasn't Y happened? But like I said, good things take time. If we look at compounding, which is a mathematical phenomenon, the reason why that works so well is because of time. Like, you can't beat time. So to answer your question about what to say to the ambitious girlies, give yourself grace. The fact that you took the first step deserves a round of applause, especially if you've come from a background where the odds are stacked against you to begin with. Give yourself grace, applaud yourself, and remember, when we can run now, right? But we weren't born running. We went through stages, right? And we took what we knew in the previous stage, we took that forward to help us in the next stage, and now we can do whatever, right? So I think the same thing applies with finances. Applaud yourself for the first step. Stay motivated. I say stay motivated. We'll unpack that, but try and be motivated and try and stay consistent with your plan. And you will look back one day and be like, oh my goodness, I did it. In terms of the motivation aspect, I'm not going to sit here and say we don't get motivated. If you had spoken to me yesterday, try.
I was even having a moment before.
Right? Like, but it's real. Like, we're not robots, we're people. And I think that's where community comes in. Having people around you that can speak life. Oh, okay, besties. Having people around you who can speak life into you, who can remind you that, okay, you're having a bad day today. This bad days are going to be forever. You have the capacity, you have the skill sets, you've got the intelligence to be able to solve this problem. I think, again, going back to your why. When your why is bigger than you, okay, you might want to, you know, be sad for a couple of days or be sad for a couple of hours, but your why is going to be looking at you like, sis,
do you get?
Come on now.
Get up, let's go.
Right, I was going to say, oh yeah. Like, get up, like, pick yourself up. Like, we need to do what we need to do. So I would say, if I had to summarize all of that into, I guess, practical points, have people around you who you can genuinely trust and be open with. I'm talking about the people who don't see you for the accolades, they see you for you. So you can tell them, okay, I'm having a bad day or this has happened, what do I do? The second thing is go back to the beginning, go back to your why, go back to the reason why you wanted to go on this journey anyway. And I think 3, have a journal and document your journey, even if it's a sentence, because when you read that, trust me, it will remind you that you have come so far And naturally you'll pick yourself up like, I've made so much progress anyway, I'm not going to stop now because of a mini hurdle. And I think it's time fallacy or something. I can't remember what it's called, but the more time you spend doing something, because of the time you've invested, you're less likely to walk away from it. So that can actually be used in your favor in those situations, hence why the journal and things come into play. But I just want to remind you, girl, you got this.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. Just keep going.
Yeah. And I just feel like, just to circle back to what you said earlier, like, where are you running? Like,
no, because where are you going?
We are so young.
Yeah.
Right.
Mid-20s.
Right.
Crazy. Like, when you think about it, there's still so many years, God willing, so many more years we're going to see. So you don't need to reach financial freedom at 24. Like, it's okay.
I mean, it's great if you do, but...
Yeah, of course, but...
we don't discriminate.
Like, as people who are so driven and, like, high achievers, we're going to always want to be doing more anyway.
Yeah.
So it's okay for it to take a little bit longer than you wanted to, because, like you said, compounding, right? Every single year you continue to work towards your goals and strive towards your goals, you will pick up new skills, you'll pick up new achievements, and you'll pick up just new things that you can use to then help you in the next year. So you don't need to fall into the trap of thinking you need to achieve everything at once, you know.
Agreed.
And also, like, your goals will change as well as life changes, as you go on to your next chapters. Maybe you'll have a family, maybe you'll get into like a relationship, and your goals might change as you meet new people as well. So what's the point of, you know, reaching your final destination at 24 and then at 25 you realize, oh wait, I want to change things up and strive for a whole new thing? You know, it's okay for things to take time. Time, I think, is a beautiful thing. Even though it's difficult to sometimes accept, because you want things done now, especially in the microwave generation, like you mentioned earlier, like we want things instantly, but good things come with time. You can't rush perfection, as they say, and you need to understand the beauty in that, to be okay with things taking time, but also understand that it's there for a reason. And something that I believe so strongly is that your blessings will come at times when you can deal with them best. Like, you're not going to get a really amazing opportunity if God thinks you're not going to be able to deal with it at that time. So you need to trust in that and accept that everything will happen for a reason, and everything will happen according to the timing that's best for you.
And just to second that, I think that's what stewardship is all about. It's the moments that people don't see that build you up to be the person that can handle that thing. And so I also think there needs to be a perception change in how you see struggles and trials, because if we think about the problem, if we go back to school, if we go back to GCSE,
wow, it's a long time ago.
That was so hard at the time, we thought. Then we did A-levels. That was so hard, we thought. Then we did uni. That was so hard. And then we became adults, and now we're screaming adulting is hard. But at every single point we thought it was hard, but we overcame, right?
Right.
So going back to finances, when you feel like, things aren't happening fast enough, remember that thing that you're in now is preparing you for the next, that was so hard. Because when you are able to overcome that, the skill sets, the new network, the new way in which you problem solve, that's going to help you handle the £20,000 problem from the £20 problem. Do you know what I mean? So I think we shouldn't despise process. Yeah, and I think in rushing, sometimes you miss process, but great people are really, really particular about process. So don't rush, guys. It's okay. We have time.
No, that's so well said, because I feel like when you get to the success you're after, you want to be able to sustain it. And I don't think enough people talk about that. Like, it's all fun and games to to appear like you're an overnight success or to get to that thing really quickly, but if you don't build up certain habits, certain behaviors, certain belief systems, when you do acquire that level of success, it will not last long, because you was not prepared to handle the capacity of it. I think me and you were reflecting earlier this year, kind of certain blessings that we're able to have access to now. If it was within reach a few years ago, we would not have been able to steward it well.
Nope.
Like, genuinely, if I made a certain amount of money that I had access to early this year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago at uni, I would have spent it all on, like, maybe designer bags or something.
She said, proud of me, baby.
Do you get what I mean? Like, like literally I hair anything I wanted. But it was through maturing, through meeting people, through expanding my community and coming across other like-minded ambitious women like you who like pour into me and teach me so much that I'm able to refine my financial priorities, my financial goals, and the strategy I want to use for my finances. When you're younger or less knowledgeable, I think you're more impressionable, and then what you start doing is you start trying to mimic other people's financial journeys, even though it may not necessarily fit you and your life and your context. Hence why you shouldn't despise process, and even the process of learning and the process of kind of finding your feet in this financial realm type of situation. Do you get what I mean?
And even to second that, that's why loads of lottery winners go pro after a number of years, because they didn't go through the process. They didn't understand how to budget. They didn't understand what is an asset, what is a liability. They've been given a huge ton of money and then it's gone, right? So process, it prepares you to be the person who you need to be, but it also prepares you to be the person to keep the thing that you have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keep the thing that you have. I love that.
Yeah. So one thing I want to know is, what's one myth about money you wish more women would let go of?
One myth? That you shouldn't invest.
Let's
Can we
unpack
invest,
it.
please? Can we make our money grow for us? There is a huge gap when you look at the stats. Males tend to invest more. Women tend to save more. You cannot save your way to wealth.
Say it again.
You cannot save your way to wealth. It just, inflation is out here trying to take every penny. Things are increasing by the minute. And the interest rates the bank are giving you, that's not going to make anybody rich. That's not even keeping the value of your money at that specific moment in time. So I really wish that people invested more in whatever capacity made sense to them. Not investing small amounts is better than not investing at all. Yeah.
And I just want to highlight that, because I was actually just mentioning this to some of my work colleagues earlier this month, is that you don't need to start investing only when you own a paycheck, like only when you start working. You can invest, like you said, £100 or £50 as a student every month. That's better than not doing it at all, because everything these finance bros scream about on YouTube is that invest early, your 20s is when you should start investing. And it's true, because of what you mentioned about compounding. And compounding means, like, if you invest every month for a year, you might not see any change. It might stay at how much you've invested. Second year, you might not see a change. But third, fourth, fifth year, your money will start working for you. And that's what we want. That's how you're going to build wealth. So start investing small and start investing early. And as you start earning more, you can invest more as well on a monthly basis. But if you only start investing when you start earning, let's say 5K a month, you're going to have missed out on 5-10 years where your money could have been working for you. And now you're only going to be more behind than where you could have been. So invest early. And if you don't know how to invest, guys, there's so many resources online. We don't even have to get into that at the moment, but you can start small and you can start basic, and you can build on that as your money grows as well.
Yeah. And I would say, just to even second that, practically, like you said, you don't need crazy amounts. I think if you start investing early, you can benefit so much more than the person who started investing later. And just to go off of what you said about compounding is when your money makes interest and that interest earns interest. And I think the best way that I remind myself about compounding visually is, if we were to roll a snowball down a mountain, as it goes down the mountain, it gains momentum and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what compounding is. And people say, like, when you've invested your first £100,000, that's when you see crazy growth, because 10% of £100,000 is £10,000, right? So imagine the interest on £10,000 every single time. So invest whatever you can at the moment that you can do, but be consistent. Don't do it as a one-off, because you won't see crazy changes. You want to do it consistently, and that's when compounding really works its magic, and allowing time to do its thing. Don't rush.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight that when you're investing, in most cases, it's for the long run, like it's for the long term. I think when I started investing back in med school, someone told me, treat that money like as if you're not going to touch it for 5 years.
It's gone.
And
it's gone.
You need to treat it like that, because at the start I would be like investing on a monthly basis, and I'd be checking the app every month, like, how much have you grown? Babe, it's the same amount. It's not going anywhere. But I sort of trained myself to almost forget it exists, right? It was a direct debit from my bank account. I forgot about it. And then 2 years down the line, it's still, it's getting there. But 3-4 years down the line, I'd open the app and I'd be like, okay, I see you. And imagine that 10 years down the line, like you need to, it has to, that's why, going back to what you said earlier, you need to know where your money's going and where, how much is coming in as well, because it has to be money that you can forget about that you're investing. Don't invest £1,000 if you need some of that to pay your rent. You don't want to get into a habit of putting in and taking out and putting in and taking out. It has to be money you can completely forget about and look back at 10 years time and be like, yeah, thank you, Hazal, from 10 years ago.
And I think that reminds me of something that I personally stand by, which is paying yourself first. So even going back to what you said earlier, or the earlier question that you asked me about what things did I do when I was working as a doctor. I didn't say was, I'm still a doctor.
is present.
Is paying myself first. And what does that mean practically? So let's say my income comes in. After I pay my tithe as a Christian girlie, the next thing that I do is I take a certain percentage, and that's to investing. Before my bills are paid, before, I don't know, I buy something for myself, that money is gone first. And then whatever is left, I will fit my lifestyle around. And I think what people tend to do is they pay for everything else first, and then whatever happens to be left after they've done that, that's what they're investing. But if we're really serious about building financial freedom, if we're really serious about building wealth, you need to prioritize it. And if it's not a priority in your finances, then you don't care about it as much as you're saying, right? So I'd highly recommend doing that and then fitting your life around it. And then that means you will force yourself to pick things that align. So again, in my case, the house with 3 floors no longer made any sense, right? So I had to downsize to make sure that I'm still paying myself first, but I also have a roof over my head. Yeah.
I think you need to determine what your non-negotiables are. Like rent is a non-negotiable, right? If you don't pay that rent, you got nowhere to live. And I like to treat my investments as a non-negotiable, and that's why, and make it easier for yourself. Like direct debits means that you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to say, okay, today I need to put this much here. Like it will just one day it'll just go from your account and you'll be like, cool, that's where that's going. And the easier you make it for yourself, and the more you reduce the friction, the more likely you are to keep at it. And this is all for the long term. And again, remember your why. Like there is a reason you're doing this, and there is a reason that you will benefit from this in the future, even if you don't see the short-term returns immediately.
I love that, guys. So normally we like to end our podcast episodes with a one-liner for the ambitious girlies tuning in. And we start it with Dear Ambitious Girlie, and drop a cheeky gem for them to take away. So
the pressure.
Yes.
It's okay, you've dropped loads of gems, no pressure.
For real. Yeah. What is one thing that you really want them to take away from today's episode, starting with Dear Ambitious Girlies?
Look into the camera. So, Dear Ambitious Girlies, please invest today, because your future self will thank you for it.
She stole my one.
You say this every time.
I say this every episode.
No. Go on.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Dear ambitious girlies, know your why. Sit down and brainstorm exactly why you are striving for these specific financial goals, as that will form the foundation of everything you build on top of that. And it will help you, especially in the dark times, the difficult times when motivation is non-existent.
I love that. Mine would be, dear ambitious girlies, have a financial plan. Just like you have a career plan or a health plan, if you don't make a plan for yourself, you're going to end up falling into someone else's plan. And as ambitious women striving to self-actualize and maximize our potential in different areas of life, finances is an element of that. It's up to you how ambitious you want to be with your finances, but just have a plan in place. It will save you so much more hassle in the future. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming onto this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure that all the girlies will love all the gems you dropped. If people want to connect with you, find out more about what you do, where is the best place for them to stay in touch?
So I'm on Instagram, Uyiosa. So that's DRUYIOSA. I'm also on TikTok with the same handle, and on YouTube with the same handle. And my YouTube has loads of things about personal finance, investing, property. So yes, that's
guys,
me.
go
No,
and
guys,
watch all
check out her
yeah.
YouTube. One thing I love about her YouTube channel as a regular, as someone who tunes in quite regularly, is the way she just breaks down what you'd think is really complex topics and jargon, and just allows you to process it and map it to your own life. So honestly, do check out her YouTube channel. It's a really good resource. But yeah, thank you so much for watching today's or listening to today's episode of the Boldly Ambitious podcast. Be sure to share this episode with your network or anyone else that you think kind of needs this knowledge regarding their finances. You can stay in touch with us at Boldly Ambitious Pod on Instagram, YouTube. TikTok is loading one day. Do leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode. Drop any comments down below as well, so that we can also engage and see what you're thinking. And we'll be sure to see you in a future episode next time. Bye,
Bye guys.
Bye.